We have the second person who is running for South Ward Council, and we are introducing Terrance Bankston. Terrance Bankston, welcome to All Politics Are Local. Glad to have you on.
You to Terrance.
Happy to be back on with you guys.
There you go.
All right, so we're going to jump right into it because we have a full lineup, and we know we want to get as much in as possible. So throwing right in it, what about your biography makes you the choice for council, for the South Ward councilman?
I mean, I think I've shared with your audience before, and these things are definitely highlighted on my website, bankstonfornewark.com. I'm not just a son of the South Ward, but I'm at 39 years old. Have served in 5 directorships. 2 of those directorships were with the city of Newark. One as the director of constituent affairs, where I was responsible for producing something that's still used as a resource in the city today, the Newark Constituent Services Guide. And then also serving as the director of the Newark Youth One Stop, where under my leadership, we were responsible for increasing the literacy rate of our participants by double digits. And so outside of that, I've had work experience in higher education space, serving as a director at Bloomfield College. I've also served as the director of PC2E, which is a parent advocacy agency that bridged the gap between both charter community and, I don't like to say our traditional public schools, but I'll say that for this audience, traditional public schools as well. I'm a proven administrator. And in those particular roles, it just wasn't a title. We actually had measurable results, a record to run on. And I think that the next council person needs to be a proven administrator, as well as a collaborator. And yes, a visionary as well.
All right. So getting into the second question that we ask, and when talking about people about the South Ward, one of the things they say the first in terms of their concerns, and it's true in many different places, they say their first concern is crime. And when we're talking about the issue of crime, it's very always delicate. We have issues where there are lots of life crimes, right? Like in terms of car theft, that kind of stuff. And then we also have issues with not wanting to be over-policed. So when we're looking at this, what is the specific policies that you think need to be pushed in the South Ward in terms of crime and public safety?
As the next South Ward councilman, which I look forward to serving this community as, I'm going to just be hands-on. We haven't had a hands-on council person at this level. And hands-on means collaborating effectively with our police captain. It means working with a police captain for longer than a year or 2. We've undergone leadership changes, and our council leadership has been silent on that. And so I think that can help. I'm going to be more involved in terms of re-examining the number of police allocated and how they are deployed. What are our deployment methods and tactics? And making that a priority in the South Ward from the councilman's level will be totally different. But I think it's necessary to better address crime. Specifically for me, I want to target gun violence. I think that, when we look at a consistent crime rate of 300% over the past 8 years in terms of shootings, and those are being conducted or carried out by young Black men under the age of 25 years old. And so we need to have actual alternatives for them that they are interested in. And that's not just limited to employment, but social engagement activities that are crime deterrence, I think would be important and needs to be pushed straight from the council office. A stronger collaboration with our nonprofits. There's about 34 that are funded to serve our most at-risk population, we call it. And based on what you hear and what people feel, our whole ward is at risk. And so guns and garbage has to be addressed every day and differently. I would like to explore the option of remote police precincts in each of our public high schools within the ward. Part of the role of the police should be to create positive engagements, not necessarily policing, but really being a part of that community and protecting our babies. Those security guards are there to protect buildings. Who's protecting our babies? Ensure that there is an active parent engagement group that we listen to and respond to and respect, and a student government group at each high school. I think that that's important. explore the option of armed guards paid for by the district. And some people's going to say, well, where can you get that money from? Where will you get that money from? When I think about Weequahic High School being one of our schools who was on average sending back $1 million in activity funds a year, I say we need to relook at that budget, and the councilman should weigh in on that and provide suggestions. I would like to see them standing guard at the closest and primary bus stops for at least 30 minutes to an hour before and after school. I think that presence of support and action, if necessary, will be key when we think about the bloody Thanksgiving we had at Shabazz High School. Part of my plan of action to deal with public safety is also introducing this concept of the South Ward Social Justice and Diversity Academy. There's a link that I can share with your audience and a website where back in December, I unveiled this plan, which I think will help to address not just provide some great alternatives, but it's going to address from a policy perspective, social justice issue, including crime head on. But part of that action plan is also, partnering better with our police captain, our superintendent of schools, and the mayor to just look at better options and solutions. Also to partner with the school board differently. We have school board members who run and represent really the whole city, but some of them reside in the South Ward. I would like a stronger relationship with them. And I want to look at ways to investigate and better address concerns of students and parents and of the MPS staff, because I think that makes a difference as well in terms of crime and public safety. Lastly, I would say re-examine budgeting practices, because I think, again, we're wasting millions of dollars and there's no accountability for that.
I want to just follow up briefly with, you said that you wanted armed guards in schools, and you were talking about like why that? Like why? Because that goes into what we're talking about in terms of questions of, is it over policing? Is it not? Is it safety? Does it protect them?
Well, Rutgers University has a pilot program like this, and it's not considered over policing by their community. I don't think we've tried that. Right now, we're under policing. And again, this is not about them coming in there, arresting and policing our kids. It's about having them engage with police differently. And we need to protect our schools. We've been doing a horrible job at it. The idea that you can show up to a high school and shoot at our students, and the guards are inside, they protecting the building while our kids are left vulnerable, is just mind blowing to me. So we at least have to have leadership that's willing to have those tough conversations.
All right. And Zai, do you have a clarification or backup question? And I know that we're moving along.
Yeah, Terrance, you raised an intriguing question around budget issues. Budget management, money's being sent back that should have been invested in some of the very things that all of us are concerned about. Why don't you highlight some of those concerns that you're talking about specifically?
So one of the things, I met with the superintendent and our business administrator about this right before COVID. And, part of what we assess from that is that every principal isn't necessarily a director or a manager. Some of them just are not good at budgeting things. And so you've even had situations where we've had co-principals and things of that nature. But one of the things that's required is that when they do budgeting, is that parent engagement. How much parent engagement, I think, is the standard is so low. I think it's one parent they have to engage. But that doesn't happen. When I talk to parents at schools, they're not even aware that that's a policy. They're not even aware that they have the power and authority to weigh in on individual school budgets. And so when we think about, whether it's a competency issue, we know that definitely we should not be sending back $1 million at just one school. But what that collective amount is, and when I think about specifically the South Ward, that money can be used way differently. When I think about our students standing outside on a corner begging for change, selling candy bars, and we're sending back $1 million from Weequahic High School alone, something's wrong with that. And the council has been silent about that. If Donald Tucker was on that council, God rest his soul, it would not happen. If this was back when Sharp James was the South Ward councilman and the mayor, this would not be happening, and something would be done about it.
So we're going to jump into that next phase of economic development. There's a lot of questions about potential for unequal development inside of the South Ward. What is your vision for the current situation in the South Ward with economic development, and what specific policy proposals would you have or would you advocate for?
So I'm 39 years old, and I don't believe that there's been any real development all my life. I know, part of it has been this thing that we know doesn't work, which is why visionary leadership is going to be important in terms of our next council person. But the trickle down effect. I obviously the time that we live in, and we got to meet ourselves where we are. But the time that we live in, we've focused mostly on downtown, and I get it. But when it comes to economic development, the downtown area is going to be the engine. But those that's on this call and those that love the South Ward like I love it and know it like I know it, the time for us to be a focus, the time for us to be like I said, not self-centered but selfish is now. We the engine of this city. And so what happens downtown can't just simply trickle down here. It has to be with intention that when we're building and developing downtown, that we have a strategic plan or strategic intentions to hold folks accountable that come into our community that have the resources to also do development that is beneficial to the community within our individual neighborhoods. Part of what I'm going through right now in terms of not just my campaign, but just as a resident here. I think it was June of last year, the mayor sent out plans for a 2-year economic recovery effort. As the next councilman, I need to be well aware of what that is, what that means, and hopefully have a chance not to just be supportive of the mayor, but perhaps chime in as it relates to the South Ward. And so some of this 3 bullets that I'll do different, or what my plan is, at least, is to work with my colleagues and the mayor to attract new businesses that want to come to the South Ward and stay here. I look at utilizing the TV studio that we have, and I'm a Arts High graduate alumni. I was a television communication major, but also did some of this work at Bloomfield in terms of telling our story and promoting who we are. But also we can use the studio to not only interview businesses in terms of those that exist, but to help promote them at no cost to those businesses. Little things like that, I think, can help drive the economy positively here in the South Ward. The other point I would say is I would assign a ward representative to our business districts. They just haven't had a relationship with the council office that's been meaningful or engaging. And so they are very much a part of our community. And I want to make sure that we don't just hire staff that are giving out turkeys and toys, but are actually skilled in these particular areas. The last thing would be assigning someone who would focus on workforce development. I obviously have a history with that, but I would want someone on my staff that can really, really focus on that, because jobs are going to be, and not just any kind of job, but good jobs with mobility. And I like to say career opportunities for our residents.
I know that we are running out of time, but Saeed, can you give him, do you have follow-up questions on economic development?
Same question we just asked Pat Council. We've got some transportation that's looking to come into the South Ward. It's a natural outgrowth of the airport, right? And then it looks like very powerful, positive growth of a very natural kind. But at the same time, because of the difficult issue of affordable housing, is one that's very present with us. A lot of folks are worried also about potentially being pushed out in a very gentrification kind of way. What's your take on that development coming our way, and how can we balance that coming in without folks getting pushed out? What's your vision on that?
I think we got to re-examine this inclusionary zoning. I know the mayor made some changes, but these folks have a lot of money. So the idea that they can pay a fee, and it's not really a penalty, but they would pay $50,000 or $100,000 and don't have to build affordable housing, for example, I don't think it's smart. I think inclusionary zoning is a great piece of legislation, but it's not necessarily helping the folks that we say that we care the most about. And so I would want to make sure that, one, these plans are in the best interest of not just the community, but the people who make this community great. And so I want to dig into that a little bit more to understand the changes, but also this loophole, I think it does more harm than good. I'll put it that way. Also, making this neighborhood safe. Guns and garbage run rampant. We are living in a time where rats are sitting on top of our garbage bags and cans in broad daylight. And so we talk about the South and the West has the highest number of foreclosures in the county. So we're talking about how do we utilize places like La Casa and others to not just move people into our community, but to keep people from our community here who want to stay here, and making sure that the councilman cares about that. So I want this to be a community where people who want to buy a home can buy a home, but when you come outside of your home, you're not in fear of being carjacked, robbed at gunpoint while you're trying to get in or out of your car, or you're not surrounded by guns and garbage.
All right, and we are just about out of time. But one of the things that our last question that we're going to ask is, who's your favorite hip hop artist, individual or group, or what song or artist do you think best represents your campaign?
I would say definitely Biggie Smalls, Kick in the Door. One of the things I appreciate and like about that song is because regardless of, it really transcended generations and color lines and went outside of hip hop. Everyone knows what it's like to feel that way. And so while it's not about promoting gun violence, because we know the rest of that song, it's about the idea of when you want change and when you have to fight for, power is not conceded to, it's taken. The community, the people's choice, Terrance, Bankston, we are kicking in the door, and we are kicking in the door with the citizens as a priority.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being on All Politics Are Local. Good luck on your campaign, and we're getting ready to go on to the next candidate. But
I
thank you.
Appreciate you. Make sure you guys vote line 3C. Take care.
All right, take care, man.